Welcome to TrishRockTV, interviews with people on purpose, loving life. Tonight's special guest is Robyn Collins. Robyn is a self-realised spiritual teacher from Australia who assists humanity in the simple discovery of presence and awakening. Robyn holds a bachelor's degree in applied social science, specialising in transpersonal psychology and evolutionary consciousness, a bachelor's degree in metaphysical science, a grand master's degree in Tibetan Reiki, and mindfulness training for well-being and peak performance. Robyn is the creator of The Awakening Process, and author of Amazon bestseller Phoenix, Return to Soul, Love's Embrace, and the Primordial Meditation Process. The Awakening Process is a series of practices and programs based on evolutionary wisdom. Robyn's unique approach to counselling, psychotherapy, energy work, and coaching is built on a broad foundation of training from contemporary soul-centered therapies, traditional approaches of Western developmental psychology, and Eastern philosophies. She has 26 years experience also specializing in trauma and crisis, grief and bereavement, depression, stress and anxiety due to her own loss of her daughter in 1992. Robyn offers the clearest possible guidance for those on a path of health, wellness and self-realization. She has a remarkable ability to tune into each person's needs and gently guide them through a process of healing and release into wholeness, integration, and an awakened state of being. The Awakening Process is a quantum living experience that takes you on a journey through high vibrational and personal development tools for super performance and evolutionary enlightenment. The programs are designed to powerfully shift your worldview and uplift your approach to life by utilizing the principles and practices of integral and evolutionary psychology, scientific theory, meditation, and other practices. Robyn is an Australian and international spiritual seminar and retreat facilitator and has been playfully labelled by her community of students and friends as the Soul Whisperer. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the show tonight, Robyn. Hello.
Thanks, Trish. What an introduction. Says it all, really. Maybe we can have a cuppa and just be two little old ladies with a nice warm blanket.
I know. That's what we are tonight. That's what we are. Let me go back to the beginning of your bio there, and there's just something that stood out to me. Whereas I won't be able to find it now. Assists humanity in the simple discovery of presence and awakening. I just want to start with that because it just caught my attention, and you know, just on a global basis, we're all being called to be more present and awake, and you know, it's just such important work that spiritual teachers like yourself are doing now to really help lift the energy of humanity.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, because my journey has been over the last 28 years. I have, yes, with the awakening on the planet, with life, with spirit, with everything evolving, evolution itself. It's like it's time now for us to wake up, and it's sort of like we're being forced to actually wake up. And now there's so many wonderful teachers on the planet and opportunities for us, and it's nearly like it's a normal language in homes now. So it's not as
Absolutely,
you know, feel
woo-woo anymore.
Yeah, that's right, which is awesome.
Yeah,
and I mean it's deepened so much
because even the word.
Sorry, go on.
It has. Even the word meditation used to be woo-woo,
yeah,
but it's all just becoming normal. normal language, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
So Robyn, when did your journey begin? Did you always know that you were spiritual and wanted to take this journey, or did something happen to you that sent you off on this path?
Well, as you mentioned in the opening, no, I was not. I was literally an atheist. I had no spiritual background whatsoever. My parents, my dad was Catholic, my mother was Presbyterian. We didn't get any religion pushed on us in any way or form, although they came from, their generation was quite, especially my father's, was quite solid in being a Catholic. But of course, as I grew up, that didn't get pushed upon us. So really, when my existential crisis occurred for me, which was 28 years ago, 1992, when I had my third daughter. I had two beautiful daughters. I had actually gone full term and was going in to have a cesarean to have my third daughter, and 24 hours later she got a chest infection that turned to bronchial pneumonia. Her lungs collapsed and the doctors lost her. And that was like, that was it, an existential crisis. It's like, what the bleep? How can this be happening? It was just like thrown into a surreal world of hell, and nothing to hold on to, because there was no faith, there was no belief, and any faith that other people had was in a God or a Christian image or figure of some sort. And to me, it was just like, I don't have anything to do with that. So that's actually what started my journey. The questioning of why me? Why do bad things happen to good people? What have I done wrong? Am I being punished? Is it karma? Am I being punished by God? A God I didn't even believe in. It's like,
I think that's one of the real strengths that we gain by finding our center and by finding our spiritual side, is because otherwise we stay in blame, don't we, of ourselves and of other people, and we really become, we're very three-dimensional. You find that spirituality and you have another option of something to believe.
Well, in my case, I could see where there was two roads divided. Living. I was either going to go down the road of destruction and self-destruction, and victim consciousness, victimhood, or staying in the third dimension is what we know it to be today. We didn't know it then. Or the road to awakening, which was luckily the road I took. I was heading down this road because there was nothing there to support me, to save me. There was just nothing, because this is back in the early 90s, and so the internet wasn't there. And what literally saved my life was Oprah. I was watching Oprah one day, and there was a lady on, Betty Eadie, and she wrote a book called Embraced by the Light, and she was on Oprah talking about her near-death experience. And this was about probably 18 months to nearly 2 years after my baby had died. And all of a sudden it was just like, oh my God, like this makes sense. I had support groups like sudden infant death syndrome. Like I had all those people come to speak to me, and the ministers, churches, and people that come and talk to me, and it was just like, it's not making any sense. It's not making any sense. Go away. Then I remember being outside one day and putting the clothes on the line and like my fist up to the sky going, if there's a God, if there's an effing God, like you better turn up, because I can't live this way anymore. The pain was just horrific, as you can imagine. And
I bet. And you still had your other two
Yes.
daughter
Well, if it
as well?
wasn't for them, I wouldn't have wanted to leave. I wouldn't have. I probably would have. I can see where that anguish and that despair, if people can't be supported and helped through that anguish and despair of grief,
Yeah.
especially with such traumatic experiences and crisis like that. Mind you, like everyone's crisis is an opportunity for awakening, which I know today more so. But yeah, if it wasn't for that, I don't know what would have happened. And when I heard this lady speak, then I kind of, in hindsight, I went, well, hang on, like I was like yelling at a God that I didn't believe in.
Yeah.
You show up soon because I don't want to live this way. And it was literally probably about 2 weeks after when I saw Betty Eadie on Oprah. So it's like already when I look back, these little tiny miracles were occurring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see it at the time, but yeah, when you can look back and go, oh yeah, So, and I mean, that's one of the reasons why you can really support other people going through that now in trauma and other forms of trauma. But that's obviously has set you off on a journey of study or discovering or really wanting to. What did you study first?
I just once I read Betty Eadie's book, I think in the end of it was talking about Reiki and healing energy. So the very first thing I did was Reiki. So this is back in 1994. And I was lucky enough at that time to find, I tried a couple of different lineages of Reiki, but then one day I was invited to a special meeting, a Reiki group that was being taught by a Tibetan Buddhist sannyasin. And I had already done Reiki through 2 other lineages. And when I've done the Tibetan lineage, it's just like, oh my God, like this is amazing. There was such a difference between just the basic or the traditional Usui teachings and then the difference between that and what came in with the Tibetan lineage.
Wow.
So,
I've never heard of Tibetan Reiki. When I was reading that, I'm like, oh gosh, because I was doing Usui Reiki back at that stage as well.
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard of Tibetan. That's interesting. Yeah.
And that literally was life changing. So I then continued on. He was so inspiring that I continued on to do my Reiki masters.
Okay.
1 and 2 and my masters back in the 90s. So I'd say that Reiki was my first, where I went in and I felt the lightness of being, that moment when it was like, I don't know what this is. It's still a mystery.
Yeah.
Like I was watching these mysteries unfold, these little miracles, and I was still only learning, so I couldn't really put my finger on what it all was.
Yeah.
Kept on going. I went to study Buddhism with the Sogyal Rinpoche, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying.
Okay.
I went in to do, and then I went in to do Kriya Yoga. So I went deeply into the studies of Kriya Yoga with Yogananda, and then all of a sudden, like everything was occurring for me. This was in the 90s.
Yes.
And it never stopped. I tell you what, it did stop, and that's, I guess, what this is about.
Yeah, and I think in a way you really needed to do those spiritual journeys first, didn't you? If you had have gone and studied the practical kind of side of everything, you still wouldn't have been connected into that energetic side, which is really an important part of your work.
Totally. Here's the funny thing, Trish. It definitely was for that time. So anyone who was waking up in the 90s, and of course the 80s and 70s and 60s. Like, I mean, this is as we said, like, this is the evolutionary process.
Yes.
But today, with what I know today and from my experience with cosmic intelligence, it's happening directly now. It's a little bit like, I know when I have the opportunity to help people wake up in a direct experience in an instant. I mean, I watched these awakening occurring in private sessions or in doing readings. On retreat, I just watch with so much humble gratification that there is people who join me on retreat, and I'm watching them wake up, and it's instant. So these people, no, they don't have to do what I would call the fourth dimensional tools and skills.
That's it.
They
That's
actually
it.
can directly go third dimension to fifth, like
Yeah.
in an instant.
The channels are just so much clearer now, and the journey there is so much clearer, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you do meditation. Why is meditation? I'm a meditation teacher as well, and I know the benefits. But why is meditation so important for spiritual awakening? There may be people listening today who, just at the start of their journey. Why is it important for them to do meditation?
Okay. Deep inside, the desire for all human beings is the yearning and the desire for happiness and peace and love. And when we're born on this earth, we're born into the different different countries. So our conditioning, of course, as we understand it, comes from our cultural conditioning, our biological, social conditioning, our historical conditioning, and whatever we bring in through our parents, through DNA, our subconscious, our trauma. So we come in, actually, when we come in on this planet, we come in as pure, like this pure being, this radiant, beautiful, innocent being. So when we come onto this planet as a beautiful, pure soul, then that beautiful little soul, who is the embodiment of the divine, its purity and its innocence. Well, what happens, of course, through years and years of the human conditioning and
Humanity.
kind of, we build up all of those, or we build up all the layers upon that, layer upon layer upon layer.
Yeah.
What happens is meditation allows us to turn our attention away from all of these external things that are the layer upon layers of conditioning, and it allows us to actually start turning our awareness back to the true nature of our being. We're turning our attention back into the quiet, empty space deep within. And when we turn our attention back into that empty space, we're actually turning and we're looking back into the true nature of our soul, which is that freedom, that emptiness, that spaciousness. When we turn our attention through meditation back inwards, and we find that beautiful, deep, deep inner peace, then that's when we remember that this is who I am. And then, so what it's doing, it's reminding us in that moment. Meditation is reminding us this is who we are. We aren't all of the external things that have been conditioned, and all our labels and all our definitions and of the external world, or the physical world, the third dimensional world. And then what happens is, when we just allow ourselves to turn our attention away from this third dimensional world, it allows us to open up to the other states and stages of consciousness and understanding. So
Mm.
meditation allows us to return to the true nature of our being,
Yeah.
which in its most purest state is what I call the ground of being, which is
Yeah.
the place that existed 14 billion years ago. 14 billion years ago, there was nothing. And from the space and that infinite eternal space of emptiness and nothingness, there was a
Yeah.
movement, and that movement was that active expression that came out of that ground of being. So
Yeah.
when we know that, when we find that own ground of being ourselves, and we are able to learn how to fall deeply into that beautiful nurturing abyss, then
Yeah.
what arises from that abyss of peace, the ground of being, what arises from that space is the active expression of love. So from the
Yes.
ground of
Yeah.
peace, there's an active expression of love. That active
Mm.
expression of love is the same as the Big Bang,
Yeah.
right? So out of nothing came something, and that something is everything that is in existence today. So we
Yeah.
are not only do we have our own deep, deep ground of being, we are also that which is becoming as that evolutionary process.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's,
So
yeah.
that's what meditation does. And so what happened on my journey is that when I said like I was on this, I've got to learn this. I was like a kid in a lolly shop, and I got to
Yeah.
learn. And I did Reiki, and I did theta healing, and I did reconnective healing, and I started doing writing and channeling and doing all the ascended masters stuff, and just all of it, all of the fourth dimensional. I use that just as a metaphor, but all of the dimension of the subtle realms of consciousness that we use for our spiritual awakening. But then
Mm.
what happened was about 2007, I'd come to the end of I was exhausted. There was not one book I hadn't read. There wasn't one technique that I hadn't done. And all the avenues were exhausted. So it was about 2005, because it was when the internet came out. Then when the internet came out, then every man and their dog became Reiki masters. Every man and their dog became channels. Every man and their dog became psychics. And I've just gone, okay, I need to just step back here and just watch what's going to go on. This is enough.
Many of them probably were already practicing, but the internet would have just highlighted
Yes, it
how
did.
many were out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it did, and it opened. It was great. It opened up that dimension, that global connection of awakening. So it was perfect,
Yeah.
brilliant. But I just sat back a bit in that because I was exhausted. It's like I don't want to learn another thing. I don't need, and I just kind of like packed up all my bags, and I stopped everything. I stopped teaching Reiki. I stopped teaching the channeling from the masters, which I still do on Wednesday nights. I brought them back in to help people. And then what happened is I was actually then when I stopped everything. Then what happened? There was this space that came in, and this cosmic consciousness took over and opened me up to the realm. So I'd already been taught by angelic beings, spiritual beings, light beings, the masters. I'd already been through years and years of that experience with light, with consciousness, light consciousness. And this time I was just thrown into the center of the cosmos. And I'm going like, what's this? Why am I here? And then I started getting taught from the cosmos about this, this intelligence that was just like, oh my stuff. I didn't realize that this was really part of it. I was too happy up there in the love and the light.
And is this the awakening process then that came from that?
This is the awakening process, and this is primordial meditation, and that's where that came from.
Yeah.
And from then, that helped step through. That was the gateway into the fifth dimension.
Yes.
Gateway was not just the third dimension. This is about still embodying this, still embodying it, not denying this in any way, bringing the essence of divine in the third dimension. Also opening to the aspect of the self that is the fourth dimension. Also then moving and continuing to moving back through the cosmos and understanding like the quantum aspect of consciousness, and then back through the eye of the needle.
Yeah.
Right back before the light, back into the ground of being. And so that's actually what came through. And I was given all this information, and then I've gone, what am I supposed to do with this? And I was told, oh, you'll work it out. And then from then I went to university. I did 4 years at uni studying applied social science. So I had to work out why was all of this invitation, this invitation. It was like, what was this invitation? What was this information and this invitation into this to this other realm, this other dimension? So you can see here that no, it's probably a bit shiny, but there is that the Big Bang, the light here, and that's actually so primordial meditation is.
Beautiful.
The actual place from the ground of being and being able to return that place again, because that's
into that silence. And so a lot of people who are listening, don't have all of that education behind them with the different modalities, and they don't have the understanding of the cosmos and all of those words and adventures. So if someone was to come and do the awakening process with you, does it matter how extensive their knowledge is, or you guide them through to that silence?
Honest to God, like I don't have. I think the greatest. What I'm grateful for is that I am just an Aussie mum.
Yeah.
I'm an ordinary Aussie woman. I haven't come from any galactic anything. Don't come from any ashram and guru lineage. Nothing like that.
Yeah, you've just done an incredible journey.
I was just Vegemite on toast and changing nappies, and so I had to find a way to communicate this, which was what was really important, was that I find a way to communicate it, that it is ordinary and as simple as possible and as fun.
Yeah.
My students and we have a ball. We have so much fun. And it's funny. We have so much fun. It's funny. And the whole thing is like there is an opportunity. And even in the books, the experience, the transmission isn't in the words. The words are just ways of guiding. They're like pointing. The words are just pointers. It's not what I'm even teaching. It's just where I guide people through pointing to them and go there, help people go there. And then I allow the transmission, the teaching occurs for you yourself. It's not something I do. I've initiated over 3,000 people in Reiki, and they've had their attunements. This is not that. This is where your own awakening occurs. The transmission is occurring for you, by you, for the divine, by the divine, that aspect that is in unification with us, that one. And all I'm doing is I'm just present it the way that I can.
You help people get into the seat so they can receive it.
Yeah. And so then I go, here's the practice. I hand the people the practice. Go, right, now it's yours. You use it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Don't use it, lose it. So it's handing responsibility back.
Just like any practice.
Yeah, if people are saying I'm not waking up, it's like I'm handing you the key to wake up here. And if you're not waking up,
you're getting the recipe. You need to put it in the bowl and actually follow the instructions.
It is. Yeah. And now I'm going, here it is, and it's free. And then so there's like 3 stages and activations. The 3 stages of awakening will be practice, self-practice, commitment, responsibility. Then there is satsang, where I hold meetings and groups where the activation is occurring because we're coming together in a group. And so I'll hold those spaces where we can all come back together for satsang. And then there's immersion, and the immersion retreats are where we go back in for a week and we just go deeper into the immersing ourselves into the divine, into that ground of purity.
Beautiful. Yeah, it sounds like an amazing process. And of course, all of the experience and training you've had over the years helps with whenever somebody is awakening to that deeper presence within themselves, stuff comes up. We both know that. So that really helps with all of that, any trauma-based stuff that comes up, and being able to help them clear it out and really just have that peace. And that peace to me is like, because I feel it now, and it's not that I don't go through stuff and crap in life, right? We all do, but I know where to go back and find the silence.
Yeah. And as you said, like, you're correct, it brings stuff up for everybody. It still does. This is a journey. Let's enjoy it rather than resist and push against it, as we were saying earlier. But yes, my training in transpersonal psychology and hypnotherapy. So my training in that work, of course, helps, and breath work helps. It plays a big part in it. That's why it's called the awakening process. It's not just about let's just do this. It's about let's do this, and let's go into here, and let's look at this, and then let's look at have one-on-one sessions. Let's put it together as that's why it's called the awakening process. It is absolutely. Private sessions, it's weekend workshops, it's retreat immersions, and it's lots of working with any trauma-related healing, energy medicine with the Reiki. So it is a whole package. Whatever.
Absolutely. And I mean, some people want to go further, and I think that you need that. And at this time in humanity, as we said in the beginning, people are awakening, and they are automatically drawn to processes like yours to absolutely take them there.
And it is, and there's I mean, the awakening the process itself is everywhere, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it can start off, it does start off and can start off just as a beautiful affirmation, like it's an affirmation, or it is a crystal, you know, and it's like whatever it's like, it's just that tiny, beautiful moment when a soul says, hey, what about me? And it doesn't have to come from crisis. It is now coming just from watching TV or going into Kmart and seeing that there's books and crystals or just beautiful affirmations. It's like it's everywhere. It's amazing.
It gives people something. It gives them a choice now, doesn't it? Whereas we didn't used to have those choices. It's bringing it into the awareness. So for somebody watching today that is starting to really awaken, although most of our audience are already kind of on that journey, I think, what's one thing that they could do to really start to experience that more? Would meditation be a good thing, or what would you suggest for them to get started on their journey?
I believe that meditation is the medicine. So the pathway. So like the pathway is meditation, and presence, but the goal is about freedom and liberation and happiness and waking up and transcendence. So that's the goal. But the pathway is meditation.
Beautiful.
And this is not.
So people can get help with that from you, can't they? Through your classes and through your books. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how people can work with you? How to? I've got all of your links in the comments, or in the description, so they can connect with you there. But tell us a little bit about your work, how you help people, where people can get started, and your books.
All righty. Okay. So first of all, people can just have a soul reading, okay? So that's where the soul reading and the soul whisperer came into it, because even with a reading, we can tap directly into what the soul's yearning for and what message the soul's needing. I really encourage people to see their meditation, to see their spiritual awakening as not something that's just about improving life, but for transforming life, and then being able to live from that beautiful transformative experience. So I do private sessions. So I do soul coaching, soul psychology, and that can be from something that it can be from. It is depression or trauma-based anything. As I said, like originally, or people who aren't having suffering from a crisis, then they might want to have a soul reading. So there's a soul reading or a coaching session. You can connect up with all of that on my links. Now, I am on Insight Timer. I have meditations up on Insight Timer. I have on
That's
my...
a great
app. Yeah, it is great. And I have a lot of programs that are connected up on my webpage. On my Facebook, I'm running workshops all the time. I'm no longer teaching Reiki 1 or 2, but I do teach what is called the Tibetan Reiki Grand Masters Power Symbol Seminar. So that's the power symbols, the Grand Master power symbols that came through from the Tibetan lineage. I teach that as a one-dayer, and I teach that Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, when I can get there and everything. So there is always information up on my Facebook page and my website about workshops, retreats. I have retreats all the time here in Sydney, in Bali. I do retreats twice a year in Bali, and I'm going over to overseas and everything next year. But then there's the books. So Return to Soul is the opening to what happened. That's my bio with information from connecting up.
That's your journey.
Yeah, that's my journey. So Return to Soul. transformational guide for spiritual freedom, true peace, and inner stillness.
That would be a really great book for anybody who's had that traumatic experience of losing a child to read
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just death and crisis in general. Yeah. I mean, this has put me on a journey to be able to help. It doesn't matter what it is now. Like it went from working with grief and bereavement to now covering anything that comes along. I work with. Okay, so primordial meditation. This is what came through. That was this is a channeled process. Primordial meditation. Now I'm going to offer it here. We're going to put it up on the link, and people can go in and do level 1 for free online.
Oh, how beautiful! What a great offer.
And on there, you'll be able to listen to the recordings. You'll be able to read. Part of the book is on the link. And then people can sit and listen to the recording. Look, the only thing I recommend is it's not going to be anything like it is unless it's done on retreat. So I encourage people to do level 1. Then you can go in and do level 2. So there's a link up where you can go and do level 2. And then level 3 and 4, I do on a week-long retreat.
On a retreat. Beautiful.
Yeah. Because
the link for that's all in the description for everybody who's listening. And the free link is the last one that's listed there. So that's a great offer, Robyn. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, as I said, like the real work, the real deep work, the real awakening occurs on retreat through the level 3 and 4. I have retreats in Bali called True Awakening, or the Heart and Grace of Awakening. So there's other retreats that I have that people can come along, and it's like this is all we do. We just get down and get dirty and get right into the nuts and bolts of consciousness and waking up.
Beautiful. So people, if they connect with you on Facebook through those links and also go to your website, all of that information is there. Awesome.
Email, text, call, it's all there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. And
thank you, and thank you for having me.
Introducing people to you and the work that you do in this world. And hopefully people will reach out to you, especially if they've suffered some trauma or are doing that now, suffering through something,
waking up.
Waking up. Yeah.
Others back, and we're holding each other's hands, like we're all holding each other's hands home.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Robyn.
Thank you very much. I'll see you in Brisbane when I'm up there.
Yeah.
Gold Coast.
Beautiful. Brisbane. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's interview. And hope to see you next week on TrishRockTV. Bye for now.
Bye.